We'll go ahead and get started. A couple comments on last Saturday night or Sunday's game, however you want to term it. First of all, what became apparent to me, some improvements. The team's speed on defense became apparent. I thought our kick coverage units and more speed there. Also, some return men that have some really good speed. Our offensive line did a good job as far as protecting Josh and moving the line of scrimmage, so pleased about that. I thought playmaking ability by our senior receivers, Tanner Gentry and Jake Mulhart, was excellent. And then the big unknown was just how Josh was going to respond. And you know, a lot of the things that he did with his legs and his arm, we thought he got better as the game went along, particularly with his reads and some of his deliveries and decisions. But we're really pleased with Josh. Then the unknown factor of our kicker, and particularly early. You know, I thought Cooper did a nice job. He missed a couple, but he drilled a couple. He drilled one, which we thought was going to be a game-winning one, but was ruled there was a timeout. So a good start there, but certainly areas of improvement. Always as a coach, it's never as good as you thought. Some areas where we certainly need to improve. You know, we thought right away too many yards on defense, missed assignments, things like that, way too many yards. We've got to clean that up. Next thing we need to do is get off the field on a last drive. You know, and we need to credit Northern Illinois. And they had a fifth-year starting quarterback and some capable receivers, but we've got to do a better job closing the game out there. On the flip side, we've got to close out drives at the end of the game. You know, there was two times where either we've got to score or in the clock with the long drive, and we weren't able to do that. So some improvements there. We are healthy for the Nebraska game, which is encouraging. I had a good talk with our trainer and had a meeting with our players this morning, and they've got a great look in their eyes. So we're excited about moving forward. Concerning Nebraska, I think when you first look at them on offense, I think you really need to really address Tommy Armstrong. He's a guy that can throw the ball a country mile. He's got excellent mobility. He's strong. He's played a lot of snaps at quarterback, been very successful. And then the next group is wide receivers. Certainly Westerkamp is a guy who's played a lot of football, made a lot of plays. We're particularly also impressed with Alonzo Moore. You know, he had a big touchdown reception. He's a guy that you look at and say he'd be a great jet sweep guy, really athletic guy. I know he was a quarterback out of high school. So a really good group of wide receivers. When Tommy throws the ball up to them, they do a great job coming down to it. Big offensive line, get man on man. They stay on their feet. They do a good job protecting. Over on the defensive side, you know, big strong defensive line. As we watched the Fresno game, not a lot of push there. They were able to establish the line of scrimmage and push the pocket. Some disciplined linebackers. We think the corners really have excellent speed, and we know that Gary's going to be back. At least we're assuming Gary's going to be back. He was suspended for a game. Their team captain was suspended for a game. I don't know what the reason was, but we're assuming that he'll be back. Special teams, they allocate a full-time coach to special teams, and so pretty disciplined, explosive group with their coverage group. They have an excellent place kicker, and I thought they handled their punting duties very well. So they had a great performance against Fresno, who's in our conference. We know a lot about Fresno. So we got our hands full going over to Lincoln, playing a good football team. At this time, questions from the audience out here.
Coach,
go ahead.
Late night game, and obviously win something like that is huge. You mentioned talking with your team this morning, they got a good look in their eyes. Do you worry about turning the page because it's such an emotional and even physical win going late at night? Do you address that with them?
Well, anytime you have a young football team, and we did address it, you know, the thing we've got to do is close the chapter. I talked to our team afterwards and said, you got a 24-hour rule. That 24-hour got shrank down. You know, it's important for us to move forward. And, you know, we went into that last game hungry. We'll need to make sure we go into this game hungry as well. So we certainly addressed it. My sense is even though this football team is a young football team, they're pretty doggone mature and focused for where they're at. So I don't think we're going to have that issue, but I think it'd be a misstatement by a coach. Many coaches think they know 100% where their group's at, but we did address that.
Coach, just given your history, what does coaching against Nebraska mean to you personally?
Really, it's not and I think any college coach will tell you it's about the players. And so you focus on the game at hand, and you focus about our players here, and I'm excited about coaching these guys. It'll be a big challenge going over and playing a Big Ten team.
Well, it's not about, this is a business trip, but obviously you're from Lincoln, you have a lot of history, personal and professional. Is that just for off-season stuff you can go back and visit anytime? Will it be special that way?
Not really. It is a business trip. My parents still live there. I've got a daughter who live there. But that's all, as coaches, you travel around the profession. A lot of guys end up you're coaching at a different school than what you played at. And so it really is a business trip. And like I said, it's about our players.
Coach, how do you prepare your offense to play in front of such a large crowd? Do you filter in any crowd noise during practice? Do you work on a silent count? What are you going to have to do?
Well, those are always challenges, I know that stadium can be loud, and so there's things we'll certainly have to do to prepare for that. But I want to make note of, I thought our students did a great job Sunday morning here making some noise.
Coach, even during fall camp, players kind of mentioned prepping for Northern Illinois, but also Nebraska. When you've got a big foe like this, do you kind of have to game plan a little further ahead than just game week?
Well, we always look at a couple opponents during fall camp, and I think that's pretty usual for most people. So, big ball game, and I know our guys will be ready. This will be a big day for us as far as our preparation.
I know that in their first game that Nebraska really ran it a lot, didn't really throw it a lot, although you mentioned the skill guys and the weapons they have. You expect them to probably maybe air it out more, be a little more balanced against you. It seemed like they were pretty run-oriented.
Well, they certainly moved the ball. If you look at their UCLA game, they had great success on the ground. But that's not to detract from Tommy's ability to throw the ball deep. They had a big-time strike throwing the ball. He's got a real live arm, so it puts us in a real challenging position. Anytime you're a defensive coordinator and you have a quarterback that's got the ability to throw, ability to run, and then you've got a big, strong line with a good group of running backs. And I failed to mention the running backs. Newby and Ozigbo, I think, are really good running backs, and they came with a freshman named Bryant as the game went along. And so a lot of yards on the ground, and we'll have to attack all those facets.
You will be facing a dual threat quarterback. From a defensive line perspective, how do you kind of keep him contained in this game?
Well, to do that's a challenge to keep him contained, because he's good in a pocket situation, but I think he's extremely dangerous when he gets out on the corner, making plays with his legs or as just being able to throw on the run. A lot of that comes down to being disciplined in your rush lanes, making sure that you are doing your job and not trying to do somebody else's job. And then you've got to have athleticism. Now, I was encouraged during the course of the game. I noticed our defensive line. I thought there was better quickness and more discipline than what we've had the last couple of years. But we'll need all that to put ourselves in a good position Saturday.
Coach, Nebraska is 100% in red zone conversion. So how are you going to address that this week with your defense?
Well, first thing, try to keep them out of the red zone. That seems like a simplistic answer, but we'll need to allocate quite a bit of time down there, and that's if we can take a potential touchdown and turn it into a field goal, but we don't like to give up points. That's certainly helpful, and every point matters. And so, try to. When I say keep them out of the red zone, the first thing you do is have explosive special teams. As I said before, field position has a great deal to do with scoring, and special teams has a great deal to do with field position. So we'll need to sharpen our sword on special teams and make Nebraska go the long, hard way and try to limit the number of plays, and then when we're down there, really execute and mix up some things.
Coach, I know you said that you were upset about some of the mistakes, particularly taking away a couple of those big returns on Saturday. What do you do this week in practice to kind of clean things up from a penalty standpoint?
That was another thing I failed to address in my notes. Way too many holding penalties, but that's typical. You get in fall camp, and we have some officials here watching that, but we probably need to have more officials at our practices I thought we were a little bit sloppy with our hands, not moving our feet, and then also some of the decisions we made on the special teams. We pointed all those things out on tape. I do think there's some aggressive play, and we want our football team to be aggressive, and so we've tried to show them where they can be aggressive without crossing a line on either holding or blocking in the back, because that had a significant impact. Two returns were called back, and it's always hard to return a ball for a touchdown, either through a punt, particularly on a kickoff, and we were able to do that. Offensively, our offense is not designed for third down and long, and so we put ourselves in way too much of a hole, so we're going to address that off the tape. And I think nothing matters as a coach. You can say it's holding. You bring in guys sometimes during practice. When it happens in the game, I hope that sent a message.
You also said after the game you liked the explosiveness of those special teams units in the return game. After looking at the film again, do you still feel that way, and could that be a real game changer possibly for this group? Yeah, without question, after we watched the tape. I mean, I thought DJ May's kickoff return, and while there was some good blocking up front too, DJ made some guys miss, and he had enough speed and explosion. And then Austin Conway has added another element. We got a kickoff return out past the 50, I think, or close to the 50, and then another one which was called back, and then Austin flipped the field over. That all really helps out our offense. And beyond that, I just think we've upgraded our skill level on those teams.
Coach, we talked about Josh Allen. I mean, last weekend, great game. How important is that, especially for such a young quarterback, for his confidence and his psyche, not only going into this next game, but for the rest of the season?
We thought during the course of the game he improved, and I know he played 13 plays the previous year, but that was over a year ago, so you didn't know how he was going to respond. There's got to be a feeling of not only his confidence, and Josh is confident. He's not cocky, but he's confident. But I think the rest of our football team recognizes we've got a quarterback that when he steps in the huddle one, really has a good understanding of what we're doing offensively, can make sure he's managing the game, but also has the ability to make some plays. If you look at the things that he did, many times he was, there's a reason why also we had 0 sacks. Our offensive line did a nice job, but he did a great job with his legs. He runs under 4.7, and I think the last play was a play that was a pretty dynamic play, and it showed his grit, determination, but also his ability. And so we think those things are going to serve him well and serve our team well.
Greg, along those same lines with Josh, I know gunslinger has been thrown around with him. Are there times, though, when being a gunslinger is a good thing?
Yeah, when the play works. Here's where Josh made some. He did make an error, and he was picked off, and that was called back, and so he was forcing a throw. But I thought, the touchdown that he ran, that's a run-pass option, and I've seen him before come back and do an a la Brett Favre pass across the field, and he knew, okay, we're deep in red zone territory here. We kick a field goal, we're going to win the game. So let's take care of the football. Now he did that with his legs, and so I thought he made some good, a lot of good decisions during the game, and that was a good decision there. So, we like the fact that he's aggressive and he's confident, and quite frankly, there's some throws that he can throw. Because of his, he's got a really quick release and the velocity on the ball. He can get the ball sometimes in places that you normally go, probably shouldn't throw that, but he's got that ability. So we appreciate that.
Coach, how much of a test will it be for this team to just go on the road for the first time?
Well, that's always a test, particularly for young players. And then along with that, some of the veteran players, a new routine, new place, different climate, all those things. One of the things that was an advantage, though, about some of the adversity that we had last Saturday with all the rain delays and the type of game it was, those are things that really, they're a testament to your focus and belief and determination to kind of block out what sometimes would be some distractions or some adversity. So going on the road's tough. Memorial Stadium's a great place to play. I believe it's one of the top college venues in the country, and so some of our players have been there before. And so that'll be a test in itself as well.
For the players who have been there, do you have them, tell the other younger players anything about that experience back then?
Oh, I imagine they're going to probably talk in the locker room a little bit, but here's what I do know. Once the game gets going, it's what goes on in between those lines. And the good teams are able to focus on that. The teams that kind of focus on all the superficial things that are on the outside aren't the ones that are really going to be able to carry their assignments down, and that's what we're going to need to do. Focus on the task at hand to have an opportunity to beat a good football team. I think there might be some people on the line. Keith Kelly, I think you're from Cheyenne. You on there, Keith? I guess Keith's not on the line. Okay, anybody else?
Hey, Craig, this is Rich Kempis from the Omaha World-Herald. How are you?
Very well, thank you.
Hey, it sounds like you got a little taste of C.J. Johnson in the spring. I'm just going to ask you what his progress has maybe been like since then, and kind of what are your plans for him the rest of the season?
Well, thanks for bringing C.J. up. C.J.'s had a good spring, and he played some in the game, made a catch, and that's always important to do, kind of get your first reception out of the way. C.J.'s a very gifted athlete. He's got great hand-eye coordination, and you'll see us integrate him into our offense. We do have two senior receivers who probably get the lion's share of the reps, but C.J.'s a guy that you'll see out there. I'm sure he'll play some meaningful reps in this Saturday's game.
Okay, Craig, follow-up to that is, excuse me, getting him and maybe some other guys you've got from the state, is it a kind of an indicator of how you want to recruit this area going forward?
Well, we've always felt like there's good football players in the state of Nebraska, and what we did, Rich, when we first got here, we went back and did a lot of research on when the Cowboys were really talented, and during that time there was a strong presence of Nebraska high school players on the squad. And when we first got here, there were 0 players on our squad from the state of Nebraska. And so, we had quite a few recruiting ties from the school that I was at prior. And so we opened those lines up, and we've been fortunate. There's some guys on our football team that are from the state of Nebraska that we feel like can give us an opportunity to win the Mountain West Conference during their tenure here.
Thanks, Craig.
You bet, Rich. Anybody else on the line?
This is Cody Nagel from the World-Herald. What kind of progress has Andrew made after a stellar freshman season?
You're referring to Andrew Wingert?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. Andrew, we believe, is he was noted by a lot of our peers as being an all-conference player coming into his second year. Thought he played really well Saturday night. He was a leading tackler, and sometimes you don't want that, but many times a good player is going to be around the football. That's not to say that he's a super aggressive run-only guy. Andrew he's got great speed, and he's got the ability to read and diagnose. He's an aggressive player, and there's a huge upside for him. He plays the game with great passion. And what we saw in the game Saturday against a complicated offense was his ability to make decisions, be in the right spot, and to make plays. And so there's a bright future for Andrew Wingert, and he played well Saturday night without question. And he'll need to play well against Nebraska Saturday to give us an opportunity to win.